What if I told you the thing that's supposed to be making your life easier is actually ruining it? Everything around us is designed to make life easier. One-click delivery, food at your door in minutes, thousands of songs in your pocket, endless shows ready to stream. On paper, it sounds like the future that we always wanted. No effort, no friction, no waiting for anything. But here's the problem. If everything is more effortless than it's ever been, why aren't we all happier? Convenience has crept so deep into our lives that it's quietly stripping away all of the things that make life meaningful. The rituals, the imperfections, the bonding moments, the little struggles that turn into stories. So today I want to break down how convenience culture isn't just making us lazier, it's making us lonelier, less creative, and more disconnected than ever. And how maybe the parts of life that we are so eager to optimize are the parts that we should probably be holding on to. I was in an Uber the other night. I was dressed up as a grandma because all of our friends dressed up as grandmas and went on a pub crawl, obviously. And I was thinking about how cool it is that this little metal object that we've all got in our hands, I can use this to summon a person that I don't know to come and pick me up from the pub and drive me home, a complete stranger, and at the same time I can summon another stranger to deliver spaghetti bolognese to my house so that by the time I get home from the pub I have fresh spaghetti bolognese, hot, delicious, at my doorstep. How insane is that? Like that's the kind of stuff that was reserved for kings back in the day, and now everyone can have it. And then I also woke up 2 hours later and projectile vomited all of that spaghetti bolognese all over the shower, but that's neither here nor there. I remember when you used to have to stumble home from the bar and then whip up some unholy concoction of a meal just with whatever you had in your cupboard at the time, whatever you could get your grubby little 12 beers deep mitts on. Is there a lesson here? No, not one that I've learnt. But let's be real, convenience isn't all bad, obviously. Some of it has literally changed the world for the better. Like the washing machine might be one of the most important inventions in human history. Or is that a bit too far? Is that an exaggeration? Possibly, but it freed up thousands and thousands of hours of labor every single week and made it so that so many more women could enter the workforce. Grocery delivery can be a lifesaver for people with disabilities or single parents who are raising kids on their own. Like those are some examples of convenience that genuinely do reduce hardship. Again, the washing machine, it took away back-breaking work, but ordering Uber Eats because you don't feel like chopping an onion, that's not eliminating hardship so much as it's eliminating like human ritual. Cooking can be creative and social and even therapeutic. Physically going to a bookstore instead of ordering off Amazon came with like browsing the aisles, flicking through the pages, smelling the smell of books, maybe talking to the sales assistant, asking people for book recommendations, like little things like that. The same way that tailoring and mending clothes connected us to the things that we were wearing, whereas at the moment we are very disconnected from what we wear and where those things come from, and the human cost at the end of that supply chain, because obviously nowadays most people just throw things out and get a replacement rather than fixing things. And of course you can still physically go to bookstores for now and you can still physically fix your own clothes, but the truth remains that society is set up in a way, is intentionally structured in a way that discourages those things or outright makes it impossible for people to do them. And it's not just tech, this like convenience trap shows up in food, in relationships, obviously shows up in fashion. Think of fast food. It's quick, it's cheap, it's absolutely everywhere all the time. It is easier to get fast food than it is to get normal food that is good for you. It also completely destroyed the health of almost the entire world basically overnight. So there's that. Or fast fashion. The pros list is that it's affordable fashion at the tap of a card. It's accessible to way more people. The cons list is obviously much longer though. Like we don't value the clothes anymore because they are so cheap you can just go buy another one. It's disposable. For a lot of people, clothes are single use now, which is I don't even want to think about that. There's the environmental toll from fast fashion, which is monumental. There's the ethical concerns. This phenomenon also extends into having like drive-through everything in a car-centered society. There's drive-through food, there's drive-through pharmacies sometimes, coffee shops. All of it's designed to keep us in motion and funnel through as many customers as possible and completely skip over the whole human interaction that generally comes with things like coffee shops. The only drive-through option that I support and condone at all times is drive-through bottle-os, which is somehow the only one that's like kind of dying out. So when we swap these experiences for like the one-click frictionless version of them, what we're really saving isn't just time, we're cutting out the joy, the ceremony, and the human part of it all. So let's look at what convenience culture actually looks like in our everyday lives. Food delivery apps are the obvious one. Yes, they do save you from having to put your pants on and make a phone call to the Thai place down the street, but you do pay for it. There's delivery charges, the service charges, they take a cut from the restaurant itself, and you end up with cold noodles that cost double what it would would have cost if you just walked down there or drove down there yourself. And while we're sitting on the couch hitting track order, the drivers are out there making below minimum wage with no benefits, unstable income, and they're all rushing around stressing to keep the entire system afloat. It's convenient for us, it's brutal for them, it takes a huge cut out of the margins from the restaurant, and it only really benefits the corporate conglomerates that own the platforms. Spotify is another one. I'm old enough to remember putting in little cassette tapes, or even when choosing a CD was an event, like having that CD album in your car and you got to talk with everyone and figure out what you wanted to listen to and then browse through this giant album. It was very inconvenient. Or even when you drove over a bump, the CD would skip. Yes, it's inconvenient, but it's the little things like that. Now music is kind of just algorithmic background noise that you play while you're writing emails that you didn't want to be writing in the first place. It's less of a ritual, and the artists are making fractions of a cent per stream, which is insane. We've effectively traded away the ritual of music for infinite skip buttons and playlists with titles like Chill Vibes 24/7. But here's where it gets even worse. A lot of those artists on those sort of generated playlists are not even real artists anymore. Music platforms are now making AI generated bands and musicians and tracks and entire playlists that, to a passive listener at least, sounds pretty indistinguishable from a regular band. It's just there to be noise. It's just there to keep you listening and keep you on the platform. There's no actual band, there's no story, there's no human element involved at all. It's just a bot churning out endless filler to avoid having to pay real artists. And of course those streams still count, so real musicians are now competing against robots and literal algorithms and AI that doesn't have to sleep and can churn out music 24/7 for fractions of a cent. And you might not see what's wrong with that inherently at first, but when humans inevitably can't compete with AI and can't compete with machines, and it's no longer sustainable to be a musician at all, and all of your favorite artists and all of your favorite bands and all of your favorite songs are no longer available, and you are forced to listen to AI slop 24/7 that is devoid of any kind of soul, I think you'll care then. People will start caring then. So we've been talking about how convenience doesn't always equal happiness, but when it comes to saving money online, I will take all of the convenience I can get. And that's where today's sponsor, Coopit, comes in. Coopit is essentially the opposite of all of the fake convenience we've just been roasting. It's genuinely useful. It's a free browser extension that does 3 things for you. It automatically finds and applies coupons at checkout. It gives you cash back at over 76,000 stores, and it compares prices while you're shopping so you don't get ripped off. When you're at checkout, Coopit automatically tests every available coupon and applies the best one. No searching, no wasting time. And as I said, Coopit partners with over 76,000 stores, some of which you're probably already shopping at, and it gives you real cash back on top of coupons. You activate it before checkout and Coopit sends part of their commission back to you. You can cash out with PayPal, with gift cards, or just straight into your bank. And Coopit checks prices from other stores as you're shopping so you can see if you're about to overpay before you do it. Coopit already has over 6 million worldwide desktop users and 3 million mobile users, working with over 200,000 merchants worldwide. So if you're not using it, you are just unnecessarily paying more than everyone else. So stop wasting your time hunting for coupons, stop overpaying. Smarter shoppers are using Coopit and you can too. Hit the link in my description to install Coopit for free. It's super easy to set up. Start saving instantly on your next shop, and thanks again to Coopit for sponsoring this video. So we've gone from music being this physical and social and almost ceremonial experience, putting on a record, sharing a CD, making a mixtape for someone, burning CDs, do you remember that? To a world where half of what you're listening to may not have even been made by a person. That's not even convenience at that point, that's just sterilization. Dating apps are another thing that promise convenience and efficiency as well. Instead of leaving your house and meeting people in the wild, you can just sit in your bed and swipe through 400 faces like you're flicking through a clearance rack of potential partners. But that's kind of the issue. It turns dating into a mundane chore. The novelty of like serendipity or weirdness of running into someone by chance is completely gone. Instead, it's just kind of like virtually interviewing strangers who may or may not ghost you after 3 days. Is it efficient? Maybe. Is it fulfilling? Obviously not. And then we have the king of convenience, Amazon. This is the company that single-handedly rewired our brains to believe that 2-day shipping was the minimum standard. Think about that. Like, actually step back and think about that. 100 years ago, people waited weeks, sometimes months, for letters to arrive. Now, if physical products take longer than 3 days to arrive at our doorstep after we ordered them through a metal brick, we're pissed off and angry about it. That is completely unreasonable. That expectation is not just unrealistic, it's also unsustainable. Behind the magic of Amazon Prime is warehouses full of people that are effectively being exploited, in my opinion. People that are being pushed to the edge, sometimes literally peeing in bottles just to keep up with demand. Also that we can get a phone charger tomorrow instead of Saturday, when we could have had it today if we just drove down to the store. And the issue is, once Amazon set that standard, everyone else kind of has to follow to keep up. Suddenly small businesses look slow and incompetent if we're not able to teleport the product to your house instantly. And they also can't compete because they just don't have the scale or the army of underpaid workers at their disposal like Amazon does. So convenience in this context doesn't just change consumer expectation, it kind of crushes anyone who can't play the same game. And that is the point. And just to be clear, I'm not anti-Spotify or fully anti-Amazon. Obviously not anti-Uber Eats, I was drunk ordering it the other night. But I do think that once it starts completely replacing the parts of life that actively bring us joy and connection and just allow us to indulge the social human elements of life, the point isn't that convenience is evil and we should all just go live in the woods and start churning butter. It's just about looking at it critically and realistically. As I said earlier, convenience can be amazing when it frees us of genuine hardship, but when it starts completely replacing the parts of life that give us joy and connection and kind of let us indulge that social human aspect of life, when it robs us of our creativity or creators who can no longer compete in industries that convenience has completely taken over, that's when it becomes a problem. And I do think it's worth pausing to ask whether or not all of this convenience is actually serving us or whether we're serving it. The promise of convenience is that it's saving us time, but if we're honest with ourselves, that time isn't usually going towards living a richer and more fulfilled life. It usually just funnels straight back into more work or mindless scrolling or consumption. Convenience isn't actually about giving us more freedom. It's a pretty well orchestrated trap designed to make us work more, spend more, and engage with life less. The whole system is built on maximizing profit. I think we need to remember that. And the easiest way to maximize profit is to keep us just dissatisfied enough to keep buying shit that we don't need to fill the hole that it creates. It is a void that is best addressed by spending time with people that we love. People who recharge your batteries, friends, family, whoever. That void is almost always best addressed with quality time with good people. Time in nature is a huge one. Sunshine, vitamin D, exercising, eating good food. None of that involves buying shit on Amazon. None of that involves most of your meals coming from DoorDash. The convenience trap is designed to keep you from those things. And while it's great to never have to wait in line and never have to talk to a stranger, and God, I hate going to the grocery store, I really do. I don't want to wait in line. I'm an introvert. I don't like any of this shit either. But that loss of friction is also a loss of connection. And honestly, August has been a really busy month for me, and I've been pretty much staring at this computer and in this room for most of it. If it wasn't for the fact that I have to eat and go out and go get groceries and interact in the world that way, or go to my friends' birthdays, I wouldn't really have left the house that much. So yes, losing that annoying friction is also losing connection. It means no more getting a lift from a friend, no more mundane but kind conversations at a checkout line, fewer chance encounters with random people that may have ended up being your friends or partners down the line. Convenience often leaves us isolated, alone in our houses, surrounded by stuff but starved of connection. Then there's the human cost of all of this, because every item of convenience that we buy comes at the expense of someone else, usually. The delivery drivers that earn below minimum wage racing around to hit impossible deadlines. The warehouse workers that have to skip bathroom breaks to get a package to you in 24 hours for no reason at all. There is nothing you are ordering online that is that urgent. There's just not. There never has been. The garment workers being paid a few cents an hour to make things that are just going to disintegrate off your body the first time you wash them. These are the people that are actually paying the price for our hyper efficient lifestyles, if you could call it that. And most of the time we don't see it. We are so efficiently and effectively separated from the supply chain that funds and builds our entire life. And that goes for the food supply chains as well, by the way, but that's a whole separate video. Speaking of fast fashion, if you'd like to avoid it, you can go and support my clothing brand, Riff Supply Co. We've got a bunch of cool stuff over there, and if you become a patron at patreon.com/brianneworth, you can get 20% off my clothing brand. As well as that, there's bonus content over on my Patreon. You can get your name listed in videos. These are all of my upper tier patrons who I love dearly. So riffsupplyco.com and patreon.com/brianneworth, go check it out. So while convenience does feel like a little luxury, the reality is that it isolates us. It can exploit others, and it tricks us into trading real experiences with shallow substitutes. This kind of widespread convenience isn't neutral. It's not just some random perk that happened to make our lives easier. It has been deliberately engineered by corporations to make us dependent on their platforms and to squeeze as much money out of us as humanely possible. That's the whole game. Create a system and get people dependent on it, and so dependent on it that that they can't imagine living their life without it, and then charge them endlessly for the privilege. And that's what's happening with AI right now, by the way. Once it's fully integrated into every facet of life and every corner of society, the prices will skyrocket. We've already seen this playbook with Uber. In fact, it's the playbook for most tech companies. They lured everyone in with cheap rides, they killed all the competition, and then they hiked the prices up. And in the process, the whole idea of frictionless living erodes the parts of life that actually matter. Cooking, shopping, writing, even boredom. God, boredom is so important, guys. I've said this before, you need to be bored. All of the things that once pushed us to be resourceful and innovative and creative and social are now being chipped away because there's an app that will do it faster. Boredom is one of the most important ingredients for creativity and innovation, and I don't think we talk about this enough. Think about when your best ideas and epiphanies actually hit you. Usually it's like in the shower, on a long walk, zoning out on a bus. It is never when you're doom scrolling TikTok for 3 hours. It's never when you're bed rotting. That's because when your brain isn't constantly stimulated, it starts being forced to make new connections, daydreaming, coming up with weird solutions, thinking about things that you had maybe shoveled down a little bit. Boredom literally forces your mind to get creative. But convenience culture hates boredom. Do you see the issue here? It gives you a distraction at every possible moment so you never have to sit with it. Waiting in line, riding in an elevator, even going to the bathroom. How many of you scroll on the toilet? I scroll on the toilet. Can't even take a shit without being distracted anymore. All of those little pockets of time that used to be fertile ground for imagination are now filled with feeds and notifications. Your phone literally beckons you, it summons you with constant notifications. We're being summoned 24/7. It's not normal. None of this is healthy. And the more that we try to eliminate boredom altogether, the less breakthroughs we're gonna have. We're trading all of these quiet moments where new ideas come from, and we're replacing it with endless noise and clutter that saps our mental energy. And I'm sorry, I really hate to sound like a boomer right now, but the truth is that younger generations are growing up with way worse social skills as a result of this kind of culture that we live in. And it's not even their fault. It's nothing that they're directly doing wrong. It's just the environment that we've all built. Social skills are like a muscle. If you don't use them, you will absolutely lose them. And they're also like a muscle in the sense that at any point you can start exercising them again and you will regain those skills. And as an introvert, I do find that so unfortunate. I really do. I empathize there. I 100%, because those little interactions, like asking someone for directions, chatting to randoms in the smokers section of a bar, even fumbling through awkward conversations that you might not want to be having, those are the things that are the reps that build those muscles back. If you strip all of that away, as it seems like we are as a society trying to do, it leaves people less confident, less resilient, and more lonely. So what we're left with is this weird paradox where life has become tangibly easier on the surface, but also way harder, a lot emptier underneath. We're moving faster, we're clicking more, we're supposedly saving all of this time, yet somehow we're way more exhausted and a lot more time poor than we've ever been. We've built this entire culture around removing everything that is mildly annoying. All of the rough edges and the inconveniences, everything has to be faster, smoother, more efficient. But here's another thing I've picked up on, like all of the things that we love about art and culture and music, even technology, it all came through these little inconveniences. Take guitar distortion, walk with me on this one. It wasn't invented on purpose, it was the sounds of amps breaking or just shitty amps in general. But that flaw became the foundation for entire genres of music, entire decades of music. That broken fuzzy sound didn't kill music, it ended up defining it. Whole decades of rock were built on it. It defined pretty much everything from like garage bands to entire arena tours. Or photography film grain. It was a defect. It was not really something you wanted in your photos, and now it's something that people actively seek out. People pay extra for that aesthetic now. Even that like vinyl crackle noise, it used to be an inconvenience and now it's like part of the charm. Or the camera shutter sound. Old cameras made that really loud, annoying click because it was all mechanical. It was clunky and it was imperfect, but now people love it. So much so that when iPhones came around, they put a fake shutter sound in it because people love it so much. There's no mechanical gears in an iPhone camera, but it still has that sound because we missed the sound that originally started as like a fault, a defect of the rudimentary technology at the time. So it's funny, right? We're told that inconveniences and imperfections are an issue that needs solving, but the stuff that we end up cherishing the most comes from the imperfections and the messiness. Meanwhile, modern apps and platforms and businesses making products want everything to be so heavily polished, and they're obsessed with perfecting everything until there's no texture left at all. No quirks, no happy accidents, just a completely optimized feed that is soulless in my opinion, and it just feels so deeply anti-human. The messy, imperfect parts to life aren't problems that need to be fixed. Not always anyway, they're often the source of art and connection and meaning, which is why I've been wondering recently, in trying to make life perfectly convenient, what are we actually just erasing without realizing? The good news is people are starting to push back a little bit. There is a growing sort of recognition that convenience doesn't automatically equal happiness. If it did, we'd all be blissed out by now. We'd be so happy 24/7. We're not. So instead, a lot of us are craving much slower, more tactile and human experiences. Look at the vinyl comeback. Vinyls and records were supposed to be dead, especially when streaming came around. But vinyl sales kept climbing because people actually want that physical ritual of pulling out a record, flipping it over and hearing the crackle. Or film photography, that's a huge one. There's been a huge resurgence of film. Everyone has a perfect digital camera in their pocket, but people are going out of their way to buy disposable film or point and shoots just to capture that grainy imperfection I was talking about before. Probably also chasing the sensation of like, once you've taken the photo, it's taken. You can't take 30 of them and pick the best one. You could, it's just very expensive, so people don't do it. You just take the photo, you have no idea what it looks like, and then you get it a month later. But film was supposed to have died decades ago, and it's had a huge resurgence. There were film shortages worldwide because of it. Like, the same kind of happened with board games, with journaling, with writing letters and sending them to people. The slow and inefficient novelty of it all is the point. You see it with food too, like cooking TikTok has blown up, and it's not because it's the most efficient way to eat. People enjoy the process, the chopping, the noises, the sizzling sounds, the stirring, the plating. It's slower, but it is more satisfying. It's like the dead opposite to a soggy Uber Eats at 11 p.m. And you can use content trends like that to identify the things that people are sort of trending towards. And content of people just getting out in nature, going on adventures is huge at the moment. All of that performs pretty well online, and as someone who makes that kind of content over on my Instagram, I can attest to that. You know, going to a waterfall, having beach days, going camping, going on little adventures, people are craving that. Even fitness kind of falls under this umbrella. Run clubs are everywhere, and it's not just because people want to run, otherwise they would just do that by themselves. It's because people want to run together. Same with climbing gyms and group fitness classes. Even speed dating is making a comeback because people are sick of like the isolated swipe-based version of connection. So while convenience culture absolutely still dominates, there is this quiet, slow counter movement happening in different pockets of life. People, I think, are realizing that the things that are sold to us as inefficient or inconvenient, taking time to cook, listening to a whole album, showing up in person, they're the exact things that make life feel full. So where does this leave us? Though I'm not saying you have to go cancel your Amazon account and live in the woods, but there are little acts of resistance that we can take and ways to bring a little bit of inconvenience back into our lives on purpose. Go to the bookstore instead of pressing buy now, take your time, smell that smell of new book, cook a meal even if it takes twice as long as ordering in, go for a walk, ride your bike instead of driving, say yes to the longer, less efficient route every now and then, buy secondhand clothes you'll actually keep instead of throw away fast fashion, go to a farmer's market, not just Instacart, because what convenience culture frames as inefficiency, things like cooking, waiting, wandering, being bored, struggling a little bit, is usually where the best parts of life actually happen. It's where the stories get made and where life actually exists. Convenience promised to save us time, but it's just left us working harder, not living better. So I'm curious, what's one convenience that you've given up or you want to give up? What's one little thing that you're thinking about reclaiming? And as always, let me know what your take on this is below. My favorite parts of these videos are always reading the comments, even if it is negative. Honestly, even if you're disagreeing respectfully, I still love to hear it. If you've made it this far, give the video a like, subscribe, and I will see you in a few days with a new video.